Alright everyone, so welcome to the Facebook ads part of the case study. What I'm going to be doing in this lesson is giving you an overview of everything that I've done so far with Facebook to launch and scale this store. And so I'm going to be taking you inside of my ads manager, showing you the ads and so on. And so I think this is going to be a very valuable video, and without further ado, let's just dive right into it. So the first thing that I want to cover is how I made the first winning ad for this store. So after deciding that I wanted to test this product, what I did is I searched for the product on YouTube. And I sorted by this month only. So, what I like to do when I'm looking for content to use is I'll search for the product name on YouTube, and then I sorted by this month. So I want to see recent videos. And what I found is a video that had no watermark, and it had Chinese text on it. And I hadn't seen it on Facebook ads before. I did a bit of competitive research with AdSpy, and I didn't find anyone using this video. I hadn't seen this video before. It didn't look like it belonged to As Seen on TV or anything like that. It looked like a Chinese supplier video. And so I assumed that it was a supplier video, and I used this for ads. And I'm going to be showing you that video in a second. But one thing that I wrote here is that there's always a risk taking video content that isn't yours. I decided to take that risk. So this is just like a little notice, right? I'm not telling you should steal content from people. There's always a risk taking content that you didn't create yourself. And yeah, so now I want to show you what that video looked like. All right, so here's the content that I found on YouTube, and I'm just going to play that for you now. So as you can see, it's a 4:3 video, 4:3 aspect ratio. It's a little more vertical than just a square video. They have the Chinese text, at least I think this is Chinese. And then yeah, this is just the cushion. And now they're showing that you can sit on an egg without breaking it. This is like a powerful angle for this product because yeah, the cushion is so comfortable that you can sit on an egg without breaking it. And yeah, he's showing it again with 2 eggs. And then he's going to show that the egg is actually a real egg. And there you go. And so this is all the content that I had for the first ad. So right here, this is one of the ads that I made using that content. So let me just play that for you. You'll see that it's the exact same content. So introducing Cloud Cushion, the world's most advanced seat cushion, right? So I trimmed this clip a bit, and I covered the Chinese captions with English captions, right? And I also added this watermark here. And besides that, I mean, the video is pretty much the same thing, right? And so, yeah, this is just one of the multiple ads that I made using this content. I made a few variations of this, but overall this ad did really well, and this was all using the content that I found on YouTube, supposedly from the supplier. Now, if you want to know exactly how I made this ad, how I edited it from the YouTube video into the ad that I just showed you now, you can see the lesson live ad creation. So I'm going to add a video lesson right after this one, and it's just going to be a screen recording on my iPhone showing you how I edited this ad with InShot. So InShot is a phone app, and this is how I make like a lot of my ads recently because it's really easy to use, and you can just do it on your phone, make multiple variations of ads on your phone. It's not hard to do. And so you can watch that video. It's gonna be a screen recording of me turning that YouTube video into the ad that I just showed you. And so yeah, I hope that clears up how I make these ads with InShot. All right, so now what I want to do is actually hop inside of Ads Manager and show you what I was doing for each one of these phases of launching a store, right? This is what I covered in the Facebook Ads Blueprint module. And by the way, if you haven't watched that yet, I would highly recommend that you watch the Facebook Ads Blueprint 2.0 module before watching this module, just so that you can follow along a lot better. And so what I want to do is cover each phase inside of Ads Manager, show you what I was doing, and hopefully that'll help you understand better. Now, one more thing that I want to point out is that in the Facebook Ads Blueprint 2.0 module, I was covering the strategy for 100% CBO, so everything with campaign budget optimization. Now, with this store, I did use some ad set budgets, and so this is like a small difference, but if you're not aware of that, it might be very confusing. And so I just wanted to point that out, that I did use some ad set budgets in this for this store, for this case study, but that's just a small technicality. It's just how you control the budget. And so if you were to launch a new store from scratch, I'd recommend that you follow the Facebook Ads Blueprint 2.0 launch strategy, which is just campaign budget optimization only. And and hopefully you can still understand this case study with ad set budgets. Like I said, it's just a small technicality. It's not what's going to actually make the difference in whether or not you succeed for your store. And so yeah, let's get right into it. So the first week I did the initial data collection, and you can see here it's the second step. And so I actually skipped this initial creative test here. And so I wrote that here. I skipped this initial creative test. And the reason why I did that is simply because I was just lazy, to be honest with you. I just launched this store on the side. It was a side project. I was already pretty busy with a lot of things. And I just wanted to launch this and start collecting data. I didn't really care about profitability at the start. I wasn't trying to make a quick buck at the start. I just wanted to get it going so that I'd start collecting some data. And this is why it's initial data collection. It's just getting some data so you know, because at the start without data, you really have nothing to work with. And so what I did to collect this data is I tested 20 single interests, approximately 20. So I tested approximately 20 single interests in an audience sandbox campaign. I killed them when they spent the break-even cost per purchase and didn't get a sale. So most of them were unprofitable. I paused most of them, and then I narrowed the top interest down by age. I also ran a PPE campaign alongside to help collect data and boost the ad engagement. So I'll show you that in a sec. And then once I had 5,095% video viewers from like both a mix of the 20 single interests and the PPE, when I had 5,095% video viewers, I launched 95% video viewers lookalikes, followed by website visitors lookalikes. And so this is what I did the first week. It was just the initial data collection phase, like I wrote here. You're testing single interests, you're testing 95% video viewers lookalikes, and I also tested website visitors lookalikes. So let me hop into Ads Manager to show you all of that. All right, so I'm inside of Ads Manager. I've got that first week selected, so from June 10th to the 16th. And I've sorted the campaigns by amount spent. So you can see that what I've spent the majority of the budget on for that week was the audience sandbox campaign. So this is where I was just testing a bunch of different audiences. Now, alongside that, I had the PPE creative sandbox. You can see that I actually only had one ad in here, right? But you'll also see all these other ad sets. So this is where I actually ended up testing new creatives later on. But at this point, I only had this one creative in here, and this was just to help collect engagement faster. Now, you'll see that I have these two retargeting campaigns here. I launched these like probably at the end of the week. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And so the most important thing here is just this audience sandbox here. Essentially, I was testing single interest in here, and then I also launched 95% video viewers lookalikes and website visitors lookalikes in here, because I was doing ad set budgets. But if I were doing CBO, I would have launched them in a separate campaign. So let me just show you that. So I'm going to sort by amount spent. And so you'll see that down here you have all these interests. So these are all the first interests that I tested. And so a lot of them I paused really quickly. As you'll see, like these only had like $5 or $6 spent. I think I paused these just because of how high the cost per content view was. You know, this one had $6, $2, $2. And so I just paused them because I knew that I'd have to refine my targeting pretty quickly. And so a lot of these are paused, and you'll see, so these are all the ones that I tested, right? You can look at the type of interest that I was testing. Computers, YouTube, HBO, Keep Up with the Kardashians, BuzzFeed, physical therapy, mattress, PC gamer, truck driver, video games, health and wellness, physical exercise, and online shopping, programming, discount stores, Netflix, therapy, professional, deal of the day. And so you can see that I tested all these different things, and then probably on the first or second day. So let me go to the first like 3 days. We can see what I was testing here. Yeah, so you can see that I was on the first 2-3 days, I was only testing interest basically. And they were all 18 plus. And they were just like a bunch of different angles that I randomly picked based on the product, right? Like therapy, I've thought of that because like it's like a cushion for back pain, right? So that's kind of related to therapy. Netflix, if you sit all day, maybe you need a cushion for it. Deal of the day, I mean, this is always a good interest to target, like if people like deals, and so on. So I was testing all these different interests, and then based on that, you can see that 3 of them here got sales. And so these are the ones that I proceeded to narrow down, right? For example, you see therapy. Let me select that by selection. If I break this down by delivery, and then I go to age and gender, and then let's sort by the number of add to carts. So you can see that all 3 add to carts came from 55 plus, right? And almost all of the content views as well. And so this ad was, this ad set was clearly performing best with 55 plus. And so what I did is I duplicated it and narrowed it down to 55 plus, as you can see right here, 55 plus therapy. And then if we go back to selecting the whole week, I think that ad set ended up spending and doing quite well, right? Yeah, there it is. So that one spent 93, and it got 2.14 return on ad spend. So this is an example of narrowing in on your top interest, right? Finding profitable demographics within your top interest. By testing all of these interests, that also helped me collect a lot more data faster. And so what I did at that point, also near the end of the week, so I think on the 15th or on the 16th, is I launched lookalikes. So you can see I launched the 95% video viewers lookalikes, T4. So let me just show you what that looks like. Automatic placements, just selecting the custom audience. No location selected, right? This is just automatically filled up by the custom audience. No detailed targeting, automatic placements, 1 day click. And I just launched these. I launched 1%, 1 to 2%, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. And then I also launched website visitors near the end of the week. And so I did US only for website visitors. The reason is that I didn't have enough data yet to do like top 4. It wouldn't let me do top 4. And I just wanted to collect data as fast as possible. And so I launched website visitors lookalikes at this point also. And you can see that they did really well, right? 2.45 return on ad spend, 2.0 return. And so like just by launching the lookalikes, I was starting to near profitability, right? Once I have good lookalikes with good source data. Now this is still week 1, and this is launching retargeting. So a few days into the initial data collection phase, my warm and hot retargeting audiences were large enough to actually set up retargeting. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out the lesson in the Facebook Ads Blueprint 2.0 module about setting up your retargeting. And I cover exactly when you should launch retargeting for your warm and hot campaigns and exactly how you should do it. But I want to show you how I did it for this store. And so what I did for the warm retargeting is I had multiple video variations, different ad copies, and this is what worked well. Just more videos of the product, just different videos than cold traffic. And then for hot, what I did is a carousel plus discount. This is my best performing ad for retargeting for this store. It was just a carousel ad with different pictures of the product and a discount, and then image ad plus a discount, and also a few videos. And so I'm actually just going to hop into Ads Manager to show you that. All right, so back inside of Ads Manager, and let's take a look at the retargeting campaign. So if I go to this one, so this is the hot retargeting, and you can see that at the start I did some reach retargeting. So the campaign objective was reach. I just wanted to try this because the campaign, the retargeting audience was quite small, and it did quite well at the start, but as the audience size grew, it started performing really poorly, and so I just switched for a regular website conversions campaign. But let me show you inside. So I had the 2 ad sets, website visitors, add to cart, exactly how I show you how to set it up in the course lesson. And then if I go in here, you'll see that at this point, what was doing best was this image right here. So it was just an image. We're running low on stock. Finish your order today with discount code GET15 to get an extra 15% off already discounted prices. And then this one here, carousel 15% off. This one, it didn't start running yet, so I guess I didn't create this ad until later on. But this is actually the ad that ended up pulling the majority of the weight for retargeting. This is the ad that got the most of the results for retargeting. So let me show you this. You can see it's just a carousel ad. Let me actually preview it so that you can see all the images. So it's just Cloud Cushion. We're running low on stock. Finish your order today with discount code GET15 to get an extra 15% off already discounted prices. And yes, it's just a bunch of images of the product. So world's most comfortable seat cushion. You can look at all these different photos and then see more at Cloud Cushion. So very simple carousel retargeting ad with a discount. Now let's go back out of here. I'll show you what I was doing for the warm retargeting. So at this point for warm retargeting, I was retargeting 95% video viewers only. And then inside what I had is, so I just had the video. The video was, I was just retargeting video viewers with the video again. And then I had this image as well, the running low on stock image. And so, yeah, this is what I did for setting up my retargeting at the start. And like I said, as time went on, the carousel ad by far pulled the majority of the weight for retargeting. I can just show you that actually. If I go to, let's see, today, website retargeting, and then website visitors, and I go to lifetime, you'll see how well this ad did, right? 155 purchases, 3,000 spent, 9,000 back, and it's just this carousel with a discount. And so this works really well for retargeting. This is pretty much all you need for a one product store. All right, so now week 2. So in week 2, what I was doing is, after the first week where I had done the initial data collection, I was using that data to do some data-driven targeting. And I also started doing creative optimization. So as I told you in the first week, I was only running one video ad, and I really didn't try to optimize it much or to test different variations to see what's going to resonate best with my target audience. I just had that one ad running. And so week 2 is when you'll really see my return on ad spend start going up, because first of all, I'm using data to optimize my targeting. And second, I'm also optimizing my creatives, right? And so when you combine the two, you get a huge boost in performance. And so the key things that I was doing the second week are, number 1, I was launching new lookalike audience types as soon as I had enough data. And I recommend at least 500 events for any given lookalike audience type before launching it, right? So once you get 500 events for a new lookalike audience type, you want to launch that. And I also started launching some super lookalikes. So I started combining some of my best performing lookalikes to create super lookalikes. And so, that really helped the performance. Now, I was also continually testing new interests and narrowing down my top interests inside of the Audience Sandbox campaign. And I was also testing new videos. So this last part is the creative optimization. I was testing new videos, and I wrote new videos, but I mean, it's the same content that I got from YouTube, but I tested different scripts, I tested different lengths, I tested adding images in between clips, and so on. And at this point on week 2, this is also when I decided to order an ad from Tingly Media. And I'm going to be talking about that later in the lesson, but I ordered an ad from a media company because this is when I knew that I was probably going to scale this product, and so I should try to make my own videos as soon as possible. And so this is also when I ordered my own original content. But it takes like 2-3 weeks to deliver at least. And so at this point, I was still testing using that video that I found from YouTube. And so I'm going to be showing you all of that in Ads Manager now. All right, so I'm back inside of the Ads Manager, and I've selected the second week, so June 17th from June 23rd. And let me sort by the amount spent, so you can see that the number 1 amount spent is still the Audience Sandbox. And the reason why that is that I was launching lookalike audiences within the Audience Sandbox, which if you're using campaign budget optimization, I would highly recommend that you launch all your lookalikes in separate campaigns, the same way that I showed you in the Facebook Ads Blueprint 2.0 module. And so let's take a look at what I was doing. So inside of the Audience Sandbox, let's sort by the amount spent. So you can see that I attempted to scale this lookalike audience here. I'm not sure why I did that. It didn't do so well. You can see that my 1% website visitors lookalike audience for the US was doing really, really well in here. My 55 plus therapy ad set, the interest that I narrowed down, was doing really, really well. Website visitors 1 to 2% doing well. 2 to 3% not so well. I also launched some visitors by time spent lookalikes. I launched an add to cart lookalike here that did well. And mostly I'm testing lookalikes at this point inside of this campaign, and I'm still testing interest, right? So I tested the therapy ad set. Instead of targeting just T4, I tested it with all ePacket countries. I tested some different interests, right? Like health and wellness. That one didn't do too well. And I even tested purchase lookalikes for the US. For the US only, because I didn't have enough data for T4 at that point. And so honestly, I'd recommend waiting till you have enough data for T4, and then you can launch it in a separate campaign. But you can see what I was doing here. I was testing all of these different audiences inside of my sandbox campaign, just testing different things. I tested different age range for therapy, right? 45 to 54 instead of just 55 plus. Didn't do so well. But mainly lookalikes were doing really well here inside of this campaign. Now, let's go back outside. You can see that I launched here a super lookalike. And so this one was doing really well, 2.75 return on ad spend. And let's take a look at how it was set up. So it's just a classic super lookalike audience structure. And then each one I was just combining website visitors and visitors by time spent lookalikes. And that's all I was doing. And as you can see, it performed really well, right? 2.75 return. Now, Creative Sandbox. So this is when I started actually also testing a lot of variations. So let me sort by the amount spent. You can see all of these different variations that I was testing. So here I was testing different ad copies. Here I was testing like different videos, right? Like it's probably the exact same video, but just like a few minor changes. So it's like a different ad copy, different thumbnail. and then it's a different scroll stopper too, right? So I tested with this scroll stopper. It's like this this human body, and it shows the spine being like compressed. And so this is one of the scroll stoppers that I tested. I was testing a ton of different scroll stoppers, different ad copies. And so this is, I think this one here, yeah. So if you look at all the cost per unique content views here, you can see that this is the main metric that I was looking at to compare the performance of these ads. And this one got a cost per content view of 50 cents, so like significantly lower than all the other ad sets here. And let me show you what that video was. And this is actually when I identified a new winning ad copy. So this is just that video that I showed you introducing Cloud Cushion, and I tested this new ad copy. I heard about this from a friend, and because I sit all day, I ordered a cushion to try. Immediately, the tension in my back was gone. It is a lifesaver. Shop now to get yours while it's still 50% off plus free shipping. And so I saw that this got a really, really cheap, unique cost per content view. And so I identified this as a new winning creative. And so I added it into all of my other campaigns. As you'll see in the next week, so I did this like near the end of the week, and as you'll see in the next week, this will really start increasing the performance. So yeah, that's basically what I was doing this week. I was testing all of these different variations. I don't want to show you all of them because it'll take too long, but you'll see like, here's another example. Vid 106. This is another one that I tested that ended up doing really, really well later on. It was just, yeah, you'll see the engagement on here. This is actually like, I think this was my best ad. But this one I tested like in the next week mainly. But you'll see that it's the same thing, and I just tested a different scroll stopper, right? Sitting all day puts massive pressure on our lower spine. Introducing Cloud Cushion, and it's a different ad copy as well. So you'll see all of this testing that I was doing inside of the Sandbox campaign just to figure out how can I lower my cost per click, how can I get better click-through rates, how can I make content that's more relevant to my top audience, which at that point you'll see that I was testing with just 45 plus. I didn't test with any lookalikes because this is a really broad product, and I identified my top audience as just anyone who's 45 years old or older, men or women. And so that's what I was testing with for my PPE campaign, right? And so yeah, I hope that makes sense. This is what I was doing in this creative sandbox, and this is the new winning creative that I identified. And so once you identify this, you want to go to edit. You want to switch it to use existing post like I did here, and then you duplicate that into all of your campaigns that you're trying to get purchases with, all your purchase optimized campaign ad sets. And so what else was I doing this week? I was also, I launched a new lookalike here of it's view content value based, this one. So view content value lookalike. I launched this in a separate campaign. You can see that my warm retargeting was doing really well at this point. And I also launched my other retargeting campaign, my website conversions retargeting campaign instead of the reach one. And so this is what I did the second week, and you can see this is when I started being profitable. And you'll see that the next week was even better because I was doing all of this creative testing and I was adding the new best creatives that I found into these scaling campaigns. All right, so now I want to talk about week 3, which was basically the scaling phase. So I had already identified what my top audiences were, and I had a lot of data for lookalikes, and I had been testing a lot of creatives inside of a Sandbox campaign. And so I added the new winning creatives to my scaling campaigns. The new winning creative was that one that I just showed you with the testimonial ad copy, and the performance dramatically increased. And so this let me scale up my super lookalikes and the demos scaling campaign. And all I was doing to scale this is just increasing the budget 30 to 50% every few days. And I kept testing new creatives. As I'll show you that again. I kept testing new creatives, new scroll stoppers, and I identified a new winning creative, vid number 206. This is the one that I just showed you at the end when I was just inside of Ads Manager just now. It's the same as the vid number 101, so it's the same as the testimonial ad copy vid, but with a scroll stopper in front, so with that animation and a different ad copy. So I'll show you that in a second. But it's just a variation of the existing winning creative. I just changed it up a bit, right? I added a scroll stopper and I changed the ad copy, and then it did a lot better. I was able to scale even like a lot more aggressively with this new creative just by making these small changes. And so that's what I was doing in week 3. I was basically just scaling, and I'm going to show you that inside of Ads Manager now. All right, so I'm back inside of the ad account for Cloud Cushion, and I'm going to show you what I was doing on the 3rd week. So I've got the 3rd week selected, sorted by amount spent, and you'll see that the majority of my amount spent went to a demos campaign. So this is exactly how I show you, in the Facebook Ads Blueprint 2.0 module, just a demos campaign, and this is what I was scaling with at this point. At this point, 45 to 54 women were performing best. In terms of return on ad spend, though, men were performing the best, right? They were getting a really, really high return on ad spend with targeting men. And yeah, I was just letting this optimize. If you look inside, I didn't touch really any of the ads. Let's sort by the amount spent. You'll see that this creative here, which is the one that I showed you, this is vid 106. This is the one with the scroll stopper. If I go to this one, these were basically the two creatives that were performing the best. And this is just the testimonial ad copy one. And this is all I was doing for this demos campaign. Now, if I go back out, you'll see that this one, this is just a super lookalike audience, right? Add to cart, initiate, checkout, value, purchase 30. So I combined 3 different types of lookalikes, made it into a super lookalike audience. And then let me show you what it looks like inside. It's exactly how I show you to set it up. Selecting the 3 lookalikes here. Then here, same thing here, selecting the 3 lookalikes, excluding the 3 previous, and so on, right? You guys get the idea. And so I actually forgot to exclude my retargeting audiences in these ad sets, but overall, this is how you set it up. You want to exclude the level down. And so that's what I was doing for these super lookalikes here. Same thing here. This is the exact same thing, but this one only has 2 lookalikes combined. This is website visitors and visitors by time spent. And so these were the main campaigns that I was scaling with during that 3rd week. I also had this super lookalike here, purchase and purchase value based. So combining 2 different lookalikes here. This is my audience sandbox. I was just testing a lot of different things, same as the previous weeks. I was testing a lot of new interest, right? Wellness, 45 plus wellness. This one was doing really well. Quality of life. This one was doing really well. Discount stores. So I was testing all these new audiences. Share. So you can see all the different things that I'm testing here, right? This is just a testing campaign. And then let me sort again. So my retargeting is still going here. I have my website retargeting doing really well, 4.0 ROAS. My warm retargeting doing decent. And yeah, that's pretty much what I was doing this week, right? So as you can see, it's mainly lookalikes. I have this demos campaign here also doing really, really well. And the creative sandbox is still going, just testing a lot of different creatives, right? And so this is the new one that I identified that I was talking about. I think I wrote 206 on the slides by accident, but it's 106. And yeah, this is the one that I tested. As you can see, it was easy to identify it as a winning creative, right? Like it performed a lot better than most of the other ones that I was testing here. And so, and it got purchases in PPE, which is always a really, really good sign, right? If you get purchases in PPE, that's usually a sign that it's a winning creative. And so that's what I was doing here in the 3rd week. It's mainly just scaling. And so most of the hard work was done from the 2 previous weeks. And it was just about scaling, using the scaling campaigns. And I teach these exact scaling campaigns in the Facebook Blueprint 2.0 module scaling toolkit lesson. You'll see these exact types of campaigns. This is how I scale for all of my stores. And so that's what I was doing in the 3rd week. The 3rd week, like I said, hard work was done, and this was just reaping the reward. All right, so week 1 to 3 pretty much covers the launch strategy, right? That shows exactly what I was doing for the whole launch. And so week 4 to 9, I was just basically scaling. I wasn't really doing anything new. I was just scaling and staying consistent. And so I was mainly scaling at this point using my demos campaign, the one that I showed you that was performing best on week 3. I launched a new super lookalike campaign, value-based super lookalikes, and so I was scaling with this as well. And then top interests. I launched because until by week 3, I still hadn't launched top interest, and so I launched that I think week 4 or week 5. And so this is what I was scaling with from week 4 to 9. I also received my new content from Tingly Media. I'm gonna have a link in the description for Tingly Media, and so I used that to test a lot of new ad variations, and that also helped with consistency. And then eventually performance started to decline right after scaling for a while without having really any new angles or any new really good creatives. And I also, like I said, this is just a side project, and this was just for the case study thing, right? And now I'm recording the case study, and so I'm basically shutting down that store even though it's still profitable. And so yeah, the performance eventually declined. I scaled it down just by gradually lowering the budget. And I went back to sandbox testing to just keep testing new things with the new content that I got from Tingly Media and so on. And so I'm going to show you all of that inside of Ads Manager. All right, so I'm inside of the Ads Manager, and I've got I've got the next 4 weeks selected, right? So all of July basically, and you can see what I was doing. So the first thing you'll notice is that the return on ad spend was 2.4. Now this is not accurate at all. The return on ad spend is actually much lower. And what happened is that someone, I don't know, maybe you know about this, maybe you don't, but basically there's a way to manually fire someone's Facebook pixel and track a purchase incorrectly. And so someone did this to me, but they used like a massive number on the purchase. So let me show you. It was in this campaign right here and right here. So this ad set, it says I spent 13,000 and got back 78,000. That's just wrong data essentially. Someone set off a purchase event that set up like a $40,000 or something purchase, and so it completely skewed my data. And so let me show you like which specific day this was on actually, just to clear it up, just so you know that I'm not lying about this. All right, there we go. So I found the exact day. So it was on July 19th, and as you can see on July 19th, apparently I spent $700 to make back 54,000. I wish that were true, but unfortunately it's not. It's just someone who fired the pixel event, the pixel purchase event on my website, and wrote like 40,000 or something as the value. And so this kind of skews the data. So what I can do is I'm just going to put exclude here, and then I'm going to go to ad set name contains doesn't contain exclude. And so what this is going to do is it's just going to exclude that one ad set from the reporting while I look at this whole month, just to give you a better idea of what the performance actually was on this month. So there you go. So last month the performance was right about 2.02 return on ad spend, so nothing crazy, profitable, but it's not as good as the first month. And so like I said, performance was declining. And as you can see, I was mainly scaling with demos campaign still, so this campaign was still doing really well. And then this is the value-based super lookalikes. Now I had another lookalike audience campaign here, just a regular lookalike audience. It did really well, 2.0 return. This was my top interests here. So you'll see, and I'm still running some of these, as you'll see. So top interests mainly truck driver, discount stores, quality of life, and then books is also doing okay. And then I'm still testing things in this audience sandbox here. So you'll see these are all different interest audiences that I'm testing, different lookalikes that are still running, but this campaign is actually paused now. And then I'm still running my retargeting, the hot and warm retargeting. And then this is just an interest sandbox, so I'm just testing a bunch of interests here again. So this is what a sandbox campaign looks like. You're just testing a bunch of different interests, and you pause the bad ones. You test more similar to the best ones until you find a group of consistently profitable interests. And then once you do, you can scale. And so I could probably scale this interest sandbox. Now I could take the top interest from here and then attempt to scale that. But like I said, I don't really want to scale this store right now. And then I also have a lookalike audience sandbox campaign. And this is an interesting strategy that I didn't cover yet. And so I'm just quickly going to talk about this. And so what I was doing here is I launched all the 1% lookalikes, right? And then for the 1% lookalikes that performed best, I would launch the 1 to 2%. And so I noticed that the 1% was doing really well, so I launched the 1 to 2% for purchase. Now, if 1 to 2% does well, which it did really well, then you want to launch the 2 to 3%. And you want to go as far as you can without performance dropping. And so I went to 3 to 4, and you can see that 3 to 4 is kind of where it starts performing not as well anymore. And so I'm going to stop there. And I did the same thing for website visitors, I think, because website visitors 1% was doing really well, and so I launched 1 to 2%, and this one is doing really, really well. And so this is a cool way to kind of scale horizontally with your lookalikes. You start with all the 1%, and then you start scaling to the 1 to 2% for the audiences that performed well. And so this campaign, this lookalike audience sandbox campaign, is actually getting quite a good return on ad spend. And if we look inside of here, you'll see that these are all my Tingly Media ads. So these are the ads that I made with original content that I got from Tingly Media. So let me show you what these look like. So they're all made with the same content, it's just different ad copies. So this one is just introducing the world's most comfortable seat cushion. And once again, this is an ad made with InShot, a phone app, really simple ad. It's like 20 seconds. And as you can see, it's doing well. You guys get the idea. And then let me show you this one. I think it's the same one, just a different ad copy. So yeah, same one, different ad copy. Sit comfortably all day with this cushion made with medical grade gel for optimal support and durability. And then same thing here. So this one is the testimonial ad copy that was doing really well, and then with this same video. And so this is original content, right? So this is actually my own content. I'm fully allowed to run this. And so yeah, I could keep running this store with my own original content and so on, and it would probably do well as long as I keep testing new angles and new creatives and so on. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it for this second month. I was basically just scaling up, testing new things, and then once performance started declining, I started scaling it down, and eventually paused these campaigns. Now, like I said, I could probably still attempt to scale this because it's still doing quite well. If I go to today, you'll see 2.2 return on ad spend. Let's see yesterday, 3 return on ad spend. Right, yesterday I spent $1,500 and got back $4,400. And the reason that it's doing so well is because I'm testing a lot of new interest. I have a ton of data, and I also have this new content, right? This new content from Tingly Media that I made my own ads with. And like I said, original content always works best. And you can see how well it's doing now that I have original content. And it's also because I scaled down, right? The higher you scale, the more your return on ad spend is going to drop. And so now that I'm scaled down to a smaller daily ad spend, it's easier to get a better return on ad spend. All right, so I think that covers everything you need to know about the Cloud Cushion Facebook ads strategy that I used. Essentially, it's this exact strategy that I teach, right? I did initial data collection, then I used that data to narrow down my targeting, and then I figured out what creatives is going to work best with this targeting. This is the blueprint. This works well. I've done this with multiple stores time after time, and the key is really just to, first of all, be willing to invest in data, and second, do a lot of testing with creatives, and also make your own content in order to have a lot of things to test. And then once you do that, then you'll be able to get profitable. And of course, the number one requirement above all of this stuff is picking a good product, picking a good offer that's proven to sell. Otherwise, you're not even going to be able to collect data, right? Because people won't even take actions on your website. And so this is very important. Number one is picking a good product, making sure it's a good offer. And then once you have that, then you can just follow this blueprint, and it's almost guaranteed to win if you do it correctly. And so I hope you enjoyed this lesson about the overview of the case study for Cloud Cushion, and I'll see you in the next lesson.